Welcome to Classroom 2 Courtroom. Here's your host, Scott Benton.
Hey everyone, Scott Benton here. How are you? I'm the host of the Classroom to Courtroom podcast, where we help you easily transition from a law school student into your professional career as an attorney, and of course, where we make the practice of law fun, and it is fun. Now today we're going to answer the question of what changes when you get your bar license. What changes when you get your bar license? Are you a law student or recent graduate waiting for admission to the California bar and eager to gain real-world legal experience? Join the Legacy Lawyers' coveted associate programs in sunny Southern California. Our hands-on spring, summer, and fall programs provide opportunities to dive into high-stakes probate litigation. If you aspire to litigate and thrive in an America First culture that values God, family, and country, we want you on our team. Don't wait, space is limited. Call 714-766-0457 to learn more about this exciting opportunity. That's 714-766-0457. Elevate your legal career with the Legacy Lawyers. So, if passing the bar were anything like what happens in the movies, and maybe it's a movie like The Matrix, you would be like Neo, who's played by Keanu Reeves, where he plugs a cable into the back of his head, he downloads a program, and in 3 seconds, he announces that he knows Kung Fu, meaning he knows all of Kung Fu, and then he can fight people really, really well. So in a way, there's an expectation that the minute you check your bar results and find out that you've passed, and you get your bar number, that, like Neo in the Matrix, and maybe after downloading an attorney program with cable in the back of your neck, you can simply announce that you know how to practice law. Now, in reality, of course, you can't do that, and nothing changes the minute you get your bar license. Nothing changes. You're exactly the same person. There's no lawyer program that magically fills your brain. You get to use the ESQ now after your name if you want to, and you get paid more than you did as an intern or as a law clerk. But who you are fundamentally as a person remains identical. Your brain is the same, the person that you are, it's the same. However, you are going to find that you're experiencing a massive paradigm shift now. No longer are you a law clerk waiting for assignments to get dropped off on your desk from the attorneys that you're working for, and then who later clean up your work once you're done with it and hand it back into them. No longer are you a passive participant in the bigger scope of providing legal services that are getting performed at the law firm you work for. You now must make the adjustment to becoming an active participant. You're no longer a passive student or a passive law clerk. From here on out, you're the one driving the work. You're the one billing the time. You're an important revenue generator for the firm that you're working for. You are the one who's essentially now dropping the work assignments off on your own desk, and it's not someone else. In fact, you're going to find yourself in an uncomfortable space every day for a very, very long time. The key is to recognize that discomfort and get really good at being comfortable with being uncomfortable, which is going to take you far if you're able to master that particular skill, because that's not easy to master, being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Usually, we're completely uncomfortable when we're uncomfortable, but you're going to have to flip that a little bit, and you're going to have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. In fact, the entire key to mastering that skill is to recognize and identify your discomfort, and then find a way, maybe you breathe into it or lean into the discomfort, and you want to embrace it and become excellent at being uncomfortable. You want to become excellent at being uncomfortable. You just want to be uncomfortable all the time. This is something the Marines train for. They love to be uncomfortable. They'll be as uncomfortable as possible, and it's something that they work really hard at. So in a way, let's call you a legal Marine. You want to get comfortable sleeping on rocks and just being hot and can barely breathe out in the elements. So you're going to have your own cases in this case that you're going to need to analyze. That's one of the first things that happens when you become an attorney. And you want to be able to analyze them so you can put together your own to-do list and then perform those legal services. And then, of course, finally bill for that time and get paid. That cycle, of course, on this podcast, we refer to as the success cycle. Once you get paid, you're going to start all over again and return back to the to-do list, and you just keep repeating to-do list, perform the services. Bill for your time, get paid, to-do list, perform the legal services, bill for your time, get paid, and so on. So there's this idea when you become an attorney that eventually you arrive as an attorney. And that means that there's this inflection point where you've been working as an attorney where suddenly you kind of know everything there's to know about lawyering. And yes, by the time you've been practicing for about 5 years, we've kind of set that. There's a kind of a learning curve for about 5 years. We ballpark it at. And after about 5 years, you're going to know a lot more about practicing law than you did on your first few days. But the truth is that you never totally arrive as an attorney. And one of the reasons that you never totally arrive as an attorney is that in the information age, which is kind of where we are now, that breaks down into several different ages that are byproducts of this information age. This whole thing is just a little confusing at this point. But where we are right now, information doubles every 6 to 18 months. Think about that again. Everything doubles right now every 6 to 18 months. When we were in the agrarian age or the industrial age, information doubled every 500 years. So now information is doubling every 6 to 18 months, which is a completely different world that we're living in. That's important for you to know because it means, and all of this is just theory, so don't get too excited. It means in theory that everything you knew a year and a half ago, it's already been replaced with new information. Everything you knew 18 months ago, it's irrelevant. It's not so true, but there is a lot of truth to that statement. Information is doubling every 6 to 18 months. So you're going to have to keep up with constant change. And that means you're always going to be uncomfortable. And that means you're going to be uncomfortable over and over and over again. You're just going to be uncomfortable all the time. That's just what's going to happen. So that means, again, you need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that means finally arriving, getting to that place where you have arrived as an attorney. It's virtually impossible because the goalposts are going to keep moving continuously further and further and further away from you simply because of the attrition and development of new information that comes along. So that's really going to be a lot of pressure on you. It's also a lot of pressure on everyone else that they're struggling with it, whether they know this or not, or maybe they just sense it intuitively. This is putting people under an enormous amount of pressure. It used to be you could just learn a whole bunch of information and that would get you through the rest of your life. Now that's not so true. So you've got to keep up with all the technological advances that also change everything else around you. If you're asking the question of what changes when you get your bar ticket, the answer is that everything is already changing all the time, all around you anyway, and it's going to continue to change. So you have to be able to keep up with it. Now, what essentially is important as a skill for you to develop right now is being able to learn a new subject that you know absolutely nothing about, and you need to learn it as quickly as possible. This is something you could even practice, by the way. You pick a subject that you don't know anything about. You want to test yourself. Pick a subject, you know nothing about it. You focus like a laser beam until you've mastered it. As an example, I did this once years ago with sailing. I knew absolutely nothing about boats. And I decided to learn sailing. And I decided to learn sailing because I knew nothing about it. And within 6 months, I had achieved all my certifications so that I was able to take out 10 friends on the Santa Monica Bay on a 50-foot sailboat. I learned how to sail a 50-foot sailboat starting from nothing, from scratch. And what was important about that process is it developed my ability to quickly learn a subject that I simply didn't know. So I hope that's helpful information and that it starts to answer the question of what changes when you get your bar license. The answer, again, it's nothing really changed. And that now you're essentially going to master speed learning so you can keep up with all the world's constant whirlwind of changes that you see all around you all day long. I'm Scott Benton. I'm the host of the Classroom to Courtroom podcast. Thank you so much for tuning into our show on this episode. Now, if you like this material that we're putting together and you're finding it helpful as you transition from law school student into your professional career as a fully ticketed and fully licensed attorney, and you want to get an alert every time we put out a new episode, you can go to our website. Our website is classroom2courtroom.com. That's classroom, the number 2, courtroom.com. You can sign up to receive our notifications. Just leave us your contact information and we will send that out to you. And if you do like this material, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of all of our newest episodes. And until next time, we hope you'll join us in making the world a better place, one client at a time. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on Classroom 2 Courtroom, the podcast designed to help launch your first-time legal career. If you have any feedback or ideas for episodes you'd like to hear, you can always find us at classroom2courtroom.com, where you can leave comments, ask questions, and even join our online community. And always remember, by becoming an excellent and confident practicing attorney, you actually make the world a better place. Now get out there and master the art of practicing law.